For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. United States officials have disclosed that the U.S. has launched drone strikes in Somalia. Somali officials say the attack targeted senior al-Shabaab leaders meeting in the lower Shabelle region of southern Somalia. Reports indicate that the strikes killed 6 militants. Officials are trying to determine whether the strike killed Ahmed Abdi Godani, the leader of the militant group. After 50 days of the Israeli offensive on Gaza, the long-term truce between Israel and Hamas continues to hold. But as our correspondent Noor Herzine reports, the Israeli Navy is challenging the peace agreement.
After almost a week of peaceful and calm life in the Gaza Strip, today a violation from the Israeli side was reported. The Israeli warships, the Israeli Navy, opened fire towards Palestinian fishermen off the coast of Rafah city, southern Gaza Strip. We talked to the Palestinian fishermen. There has been no injuries reported, but some of the boats have been damaged. However, it was granted for the Palestinian fishermen to fish up to 6 nautical miles in this latest ceasefire agreement. And these fishermen told us that they were fishing inside these 6 miles limit. However, an Israeli spokeswoman said that the reason why the Navy fired towards these Palestinian fishermen is that they crossed the limit.
And thanks again to Noor. A new round of Colombia peace talks began Monday in Havana, Cuba. The Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia say that reaching a final peace agreement will take more time. Several points of disagreement remain between the two sides. On Monday, the FARC's chief negotiator, Ivan Marquez, criticized the political task required by members of Colombia's military at the talks. Marquez explained that the FARC will not accept a military hierarchy to resolve issues that are political by definition. That includes the surrender of arms.
Cordialmente invitamos al ministro de Gobierno a hacer presencia.
We cordially invite the government minister to come to Havana to discuss her points of view concerning the issues outlined above, and to give our views about what we have actually agreed upon with the governmental plenipotentiaries.
Sobre lo que realmente hemos acordado con los plenipotenciarios gubernamentales.
Next Tuesday, the UN General Assembly will vote in favor of a draft proposal by Argentina to restructure sovereign debt. Here's our Argentina correspondent, Leo Poletti, with the latest on Argentina's vulture fund battle.
Argentina is not only focused on resolving its own problem, it is serious about stopping vulture funds from crippling other sovereign economies around the world by calling for a general convention on sovereign debt.
Argentina has been asked to take action on the matter and resolve this legal vacuum because there is no international regulatory framework that can resolve the problems of debt restructuring.
Argentina has consistently emphasized that the vulture funds are only 1% of Argentina's bondholders, and yet they have placed the economy in Argentina and elsewhere in a very dangerous situation by slowing down the debt repayment process via endless legal wrangling, to which Judge Griesa in New York has contributed in the case of Argentina's debt.
With the Argentine case, we are not only working to resolve the inconsistency of a judge, but we also don't want this to happen ever again. Other nations have said that the experience must serve as an example that what Griesa has done should not happen ever again.
If Argentina succeeds in a call for a UN convention on sovereign debt at the UN General Assembly on September 9, it could mean the beginning of the end for vulture funds and their horrific effects on sovereign economies, because it would mean their regulation on a global scale.
In the future, any country that needs to restructure its debt would be able to do it without being pressured by the vulture funds, who, regardless of how many bondholders accept the debt swap, throw overboard everything that is achieved, from removing the terms of the debt to extending the deadlines.
Argentina's draft to create this regulatory framework has the overwhelming support of the 130 countries of the G77 plus China. In a world that faces an escalating crisis of capitalism, Argentina's problem today against the vulture funds could be somebody else's tomorrow. The vulture funds clinging on to power by the means of extortion and terror against nations that defend none other than their sovereignty. The world continues to follow Argentina's case very closely. From Buenos Aires, Leonel Poblete Goduti, Telesur.
And thanks to Leo, on Monday, nearly 1,000 protesters stormed the Iraqi parliament building shouting anti-government chants. Radio Free Europe reported the protesters were demanding information about soldiers who have gone missing. After the Islamic State captured the second largest city of Mosul in June, it overran a military camp in Tikrit, where it claims it killed 1,700 cadets. The Kurdish news agency Rudal reports protesters demand information about the murdered soldiers. Security personnel moved parliamentarians to safety. On Tuesday, the Iraqi parliament was scheduled to discuss the formation of a new government. Tuesday, UN Chief Ban Ki-moon warned that military action could lead to chaos in Ukraine. He says that the Ukrainian crisis cannot be solved through military force and urges Kiev and Moscow to return to dialogue. Moon's remarks were directed at Western governments as NATO announced Monday that it would set up a force for rapid deployment and regular exercises. That would consist of 10,000 troops from 7 NATO member states to support Ukrainian forces. Spain has returned 691 indigenous artifacts to Colombia. The artifacts were seized in a police operation 11 years ago. Most of the items date back to 1400 BC. They had been smuggled out of South America by a man linked to drug cartels. Following a court order in Spain in June, the items have now been handed over to the Colombian authorities and returned to Bogota. The artifacts date back to before the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in South America in the 16th century. The collection represents all the main civilizations that lived in the region during that pre-Columbian era. A public exhibit of the artifacts is expected in Colombia next year. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. We'll see you back here tonight.